Some places make you feel small in the best possible way, where the road vanishes into the wild and Mother Nature plays by a different set of rules. This land is raw, relentless, and unforgettable.
Look at this place. We're next to a 15-mile-long glacier.
Over the course of a month, my friend Sean and I traveled deep into the heart of the last frontier. From glacier camps to flooded trails, through mountain passes and forgotten places, this trip pushed us further than any we have done before.
Give it a try. I'll go first. And yeah, it's an adventure.
There were some wild moments on this trip, many tough miles, and more than a few surprises we never saw coming. Alaska doesn't hand out memories. You've got to earn them.
There's ice underneath, but I had to kind of plow through it. This is pretty epic right here.
This is our Bucket Trip 3 Alaska, presented by Onyx Off-Road. Now, before we could see it all, we had to go north, way north. In episode 1, we're taking on the Dalton Highway, over 400 miles of Arctic isolation, where we were witness to a wildlife migration only a few have ever seen. This leg of the trip will be challenging and unforgettable. Let the Alaska adventure begin. Welcome to Bucket Trip 3. I'm here with my good friend Sean from the Story Till Now, and we are just outside the Yukon border on this gorgeous lake. We camped here last year, just a few miles up the beach, and that was the beginning of our Arctic adventure, where we went all the way up to the Arctic Ocean. We never went to Alaska. It was all through British Columbia, the Yukon, Northwest Territories to get to Tuktoyaktuk in the Arctic Ocean. Ever since that trip, we've been talking about coming back and crossing into Alaska, and that is what this trip is. We are going to be going deep into the heart of Alaska, exploring some trails, seeing some beautiful scenery, hopefully some wildlife, and just making some incredible memories, because these bucket trips have been so amazing, and especially spending it with Sean. Now, today, we're going to be heading into Whitehorse. We got a long drive on the Alaska Highway, and we're not really sure if we're going to cross into Alaska today or tomorrow. That will really just kind of depend on our time distance. But if all goes well, we do have something very special we're going to pick up. So we're going to soak this in for a little bit more, pack up, and we're going to get out of here. This is one of those camping spots you could spend several days at, and after visiting here last year, we didn't think we'd find ourselves back here quite so soon, but our time and distance just worked out perfectly to bring us back to this beach again. While we could easily spend more time here, there is so much adventure awaiting us. Before we pack up, there's two things we need to take care of first. When we got here last night, we built a little fire ring and had a fire because it was pretty chilly, and we just wanted to relax and enjoy this view with a little bit of warmth. But we're going to practice leave no trace principles and break up this fire ring we created. Are you ready, man? Bucket Trip 3?
Almost.
We've been talking about this for a year, dude, but I think there's one thing we got to bring back.
We need one more thing.
Let's do it.
Yeah. You ready, partner?
I'm ready, partner.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. Yes, I know. We are no cowboys, but we had such a memorable experience getting these hats in Tombstone, Arizona on Bucket Trip 2 that we felt we just need to have them with us on this journey. And I've really come to appreciate the practicality of my Stetson. Okay, we're off, guys. Here we go. And we're off. Just a short little trail here to get us off the beach and onto the road, where we're going to start heading towards Whitehorse. And I should mention, this is day 6 for me on this adventure. It took me a little while to get up here to meet with Sean, and now we've got about 3 weeks of exciting travel to do. Now, one thing I want to mention is I planned this entire adventure with Sean's help using Onyx Off-Road. We created a folder for Alaska, made all kinds of waypoints, campsites, all the gas stops, everything we needed to know for this trip And we're gonna make that folder available so you can follow along on this route and come out here and do it yourself. All right, here we go, guys. The adventure begins. We've got a long haul ahead of us today, about 8 hours on the road. And while we've been pushing hard to reach Alaska, the plan from here on out is to slow things down, soak it all in, and really connect with the places we explore. Now, we thought this stretch would just be a routine highway run, but Alaska doesn't really do routine. What started as a simple travel day turned into something we'll never forget. It began with a rare encounter, one bear in 2000, a blonde grizzly crossing right in front of me like it owned the road. And honestly, it kind of does. Seeing a grizzly in the wild is one thing. Seeing a blonde grizzly, that's something else entirely. These bears are rare. They say only 1 in every 2,000 are blonde. And he wasn't in a hurry. He didn't care we were there. Just moved and sat down with that slow, powerful confidence that reminds you, out here, we're the guests. That encounter reminded me that up here, the unexpected is always just around the corner. Now, with the adrenaline just wearing off, I settled back into a rhythm of driving and started to think about what makes the Alaskan Highway so unique. Well, it's about mid-afternoon, and we've just been cruising on the Alaska Highway. We've hit a bit of weather here and there. Hopefully, when we get to wherever we're going to end up camping tonight, it's not pouring down rain, but I guess that's just part of the adventure. And it's kind of cool to be on the Alaskan Highway. This is a lot of history here. This road was built in 1942 during World War II as a supply route, and it's over 1,300 miles long, and they built it in only 8 months. Can you imagine today building a road in the United States that was 1,300 miles long in only 8 months? We used to do things so much better. Oh my gosh. Buffalo. Buffalo crossing the road. Yeah, you've got to be attentive on this road. You never know what might jump out in front of you, and that was a prime example right there. Okay, we're going to put in a couple more hours of driving, and then we'll see how the rest of the day goes. Thankfully, my Jeep is not wearing any buffalo as hood ornaments. Now, we did spot the rest of the herd just down the road, massive, silent, and totally unfazed by us. There's something prehistoric about them, like they've been watching travelers pass for centuries. I love bison. After our close encounter with the bison, we cruised into Whitehorse for a quick bite. We didn't stick around long, just enough time to grab some food and to not find that special thing we were hunting for. Spoiler alert, the crossbows would have to wait. All right, well, we had a great meal and went to the sporting goods store to find that one thing I mentioned we were looking hard for, and we didn't find it, but you found something really good.
Yeah, I got some flies for my fly rod from a guy who kind of knows what he's doing, which I don't, so.
Yeah, so you're catching dinner tonight.
I'll try.
Now, back on the road, and for the real reason we're out here, adventure. We'd been driving through waves of heavy rain all day, and as the hours ticked by, thoughts turned to finding a place to camp. We spotted a potential spot just a mile off the road, tucked back on a trail near a lake. And let's be honest, it doesn't take much arm twisting to get us off the pavement, so we dropped into the dirt to see what we could find. All right, Sean and I have been saying, wow, 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 for the last hour and a half as we've been driving through this spectacular mountain range and across this lake. And we saw a couple camp spots that I had marked on Onyx Off-Road on the way here, but I didn't really think much about them. And we passed a couple of them. We're like, yeah, no, those are not really for us. And then there was one, we came down and it took about a mile to get down here to this beautiful little lake inlet. And you can see background here, some gorgeous jagged snow-capped mountains. Now, this is a lot earlier than we wanted to stop today because we're a few hours still from the border. So we're going to take a look at all the future campsites and how much further we got to go. We're going to make the call here on whether we're going to stay or whether we're going to continue on. And it's not an easy call because this is a really nice spot. That spot was solid, and after a quick assessment, Sean and I made the call to keep moving. We figured we'd bookmark it for the trip back. What we didn't know then was our plans would shift and we'd end up taking an entirely different route home. But that part of the story comes later. For now, it's time to put in the miles. Alaska is within our reach. So I've heard a lot about how rough the Alaskan highway can be, and the potholes and the dips and the whoops, and well, it's been pretty rough and definitely feeling it. Sean and I are both commenting like, oh yeah, here we go. In fact, yep, there's another section right here. Like he just kind of, every once in a while teases you to get a little smooth section, and then you get a section like this and you're just like rolling all over the place. I imagine this road's hard to maintain with the hard winters. You need to be prepared for this if you come out here. It is not a nice smooth freeway. All right, well, after a good long day of driving and beautiful scenery and lots of cool wildlife and checking out many campsites along the way, we've actually ended up at a campground, and we are on the White River. It's a nice campground. There's only a few people here. I would imagine in a couple weeks this place will be packed, but Sean and I have a nice flat spot here. Got views of the mountains off in the distance, and there's a river that doesn't look very fishy, but we'll probably still give it a try. So this is home for the night. Tomorrow, the goal, Sean, I think we can make it to Alaska tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Alaska.
Tomorrow's Alaska, guys. Well, we didn't have any luck catching anything in this river, but that's okay. We'll have plenty more opportunities over the coming weeks. And after an excellent night's rest and a short drive in the morning, we finally reached our objective. Well, good morning, guys. We had a very quiet night at camp last night. And this morning we got up, very chilly this morning, about 32 degrees. And we just drove for about an hour and a half on the Alaskan Highway, which I think is not the best maintained, rugged, not the best maintained road we've ever been on in our entire lives. But this is officially, for me, day 7. I've drove 3,300 miles, 63 hours of drive time. Finally, guys, made it to Alaska. Now things are going to get really interesting. Guys, we're in Alaska. I am so excited. And the road has smoothed way out on this side of the border, which is very nice. Now, we've been on the road for a couple hours. We're working our way towards a small town, I think it's pronounced Talk. Gonna get some fuel, get some supplies, and then keep heading west and hopefully start a small section of the Dalton Highway, which is, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But you know, being here in Alaska has been a long time dream now that I'm here driving my truck. I've visited Alaska a couple times, but never in my vehicle. And so this is super exciting. And some interesting fun fact about Alaska. It is 663,000 square miles. You could fit Texas, California, and Montana all inside of Alaska. That's how big this place is. All right, it's just a little after 5 p.m. and we just left Fairbanks. Very nice town. Got everything you need there. All the major stores and Sportsman Warehouse, which had exactly what we were looking for, which I'll show you either tonight at camp or in the morning. But now we're heading north with the objective of driving to the northernmost point you can drive in North America, Prudhoe Bay. How long is it going to take us to get there? I don't know. Do I have enough fuel? I sure hope so. Is this going to be an adventure? Absolutely. Well, after a little over an hour's drive from Fairbanks, we've made it to one of the most dangerous roads in North America. Hopefully not too dangerous. The Dalton Highway, guys. We're here. We're getting ready to head all the way to the Arctic Circle to Prudhoe Bay, to the furthest point you can drive in North America. This road was built in 1974 just to support the construction of the Alaska pipeline. It wasn't open to the public. They just used this to move heavy equipment in harsh conditions to support the oil field and the creation of the pipeline. It wasn't until like 7 years later when they opened it to the public. And now guys like us can come out here,
These guys,
and enjoy it. We're excited to get started. It's late in the day, so I don't know how far we're gonna go today, but dude, you ready?
let's do it.
Let's do it. Finally, we're on the Dalton Highway. 414 miles of gravel, ice, and attitude. Built in just 5 months to support the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, it's one of the most remote and rugged roads in North America. There are only 3 towns along the entire stretch. For most of it, there's no cell service, no gas, and no second chances. Truckers call it the haul road. We are going to call it one of the wildest drives on the continent. Guys, I'm on the Dalton Highway. I am so full of joy right now. Now, we are kind of in the trees, but I can see some mountains off in the distance. I know this is gonna be epic. I remember the first time somebody mentioned to me about the Dalton Highway. I had no idea what it was, and he was just telling me how much joy he had coming out here and exploring it. And then after that, I've just been hooked, and I couldn't wait for the day to come out here. Now, we did the Dempster last year, and I'm kind of curious to see how the Dempster compares to the Dalton. I think they're both epic, but I'm hoping this is even as good, if not better, than the Dempster. But gotta go find camp, because it's already like 7:30, so we need to figure that out. And it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's like 5 o'clock, because the sun is probably not gonna set tonight. All right, guys, we have come to what we thought was the first campsite option of the night. I had a bunch marked on Onyx Off-Road, and we're coming down this road and we're getting really close. It says Lakeside Campsite. Well, the road kind of ends. Let me show you what's going on. The road has been completely washed out. It is flooded way all the way through these trees, down the road. Well, Sean, you've been leading today, and you led us to a dead end.
Did you bring your rubber boots or what?
I actually did not. Yeah.
I don't think my rubber boots are deep enough. Look how fast it's moving over in the middle there. That's ripping.
Yeah, I think even trying to cross this would be a bad idea.
Yep.
So, all right, well, on to the next one.
On to the next one.
All right, it was kind of a bummer about that first campsite. I was really looking forward to, one, getting a camp and having a nice meal, and two, camping next to a lake and maybe throwing a line in the water and doing a little fishing. However, it's just what happens on an adventure sometimes, and so we're gonna push hard here, and we should be to the next one here in about 20 minutes. Now, the trucks are fast and furious, guys. You really have to be careful. But the good news is that so far, the Dalton's been pretty smooth. There hasn't been a lot of potholes, hasn't been a lot of whoops. It's either dusty or muddy though. Right now we are in the thick of the mud, and so I'm keeping back from Sean quite a ways just because all that spray is getting all over the windshield. I haven't looked outside the vehicle, but I'm probably gonna be very thankful to have some mud flaps. And we're just now getting close and starting to see our first sights of the Alaska pipeline, which hopefully tomorrow we can talk a little bit more about. But right now, we got to get near the Yukon River and look for camp. The mighty Yukon Bridge, and it's made of timber. Some pretty tore up timber, I might add. But fun fact, this bridge was originally built just for the Trans-America Pipeline and support vehicles. This bridge was not open to the public until 1994. All right, it is a little before 10 o'clock p.m. and that first campsite was flooded. So we are now at what's called 5 Mile Campground. This is better than average. There are mosquitoes everywhere. Now, we went to the grocery store. We got all kinds of food, all kinds of great meals we're gonna cook. But I think tonight we're going to hunker down from these mosquitoes and just have something simple. Whew, it's bad. I need to get out of these things. All right, guys, by executive decision, Sean decided that he wanted to cook us some steaks, and I can't turn down a steak. Sean, we were going to show folks what we bought, what we've been looking for the last few days. You want to show them?
Yes.
What did we get?
Crossbows.
Crossbows.
Yeah. I mean, you can never be too safe.
Right.
On the Dalton Highway.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I have no idea how this works, but we're going to find out.
Yep. We both got crossbows. We'll be reading up on it tonight, and we'll be having a little fun. It's just something we've ever always wanted to do, and well, why not?
Why not?
Steak dinner? Candlelight? I'm gonna feel like I'm on a Dalton date.
Wait, did you get the finishing salt on there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's a good steak.
Good enough?
Especially considering it's 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
Well, it's morning 1 on the Dalton Highway, and got here last night. Those mosquitoes were crazy. There's none to be found this morning, and I didn't even realize it, but we actually camped right next to a little creek down there. You can hear it running. I got my hot cup of caffeine, and life is good this morning. Sean and I are taking it easy. We were up late last night, way past my bedtime. But this morning we're just enjoying the morning, and then we're gonna continue to head north. Hopefully this morning we make it past the Arctic Circle, and I don't think we'll make it to Prudhoe Bay, but who knows? Who knows where the road will take us. Now, last night Sean introduced you to his crossbow, and I want to talk a little bit about that because that's something that we've been talking about for several days now. So Sean and I, being teenagers at heart, decided that we were going to get crossbows. And so we went to a couple shops along the way to find crossbows, and we finally found some at the last stop in Fairbanks, and they only had 2 crossbows. And these are both Killer Instinct. Mine is the 405, his is the 430. He's got kind of the higher end model, and those were the only 2 they had, and we both wanted the 430. So we did rock, paper, scissors. Sean won, he got the 430, I got this one. So hopefully we get to camp somewhere tonight, maybe by a stream or a lake or a river, and we can do some fishing, and we can break out the crossbows and learn how to use that. That'll be a lot of fun. So I'm going to definitely caffeinate a little bit more, and then we're gonna hit the trail. All right, we're on the move, and you know, we're cruising right along, 45, 50 miles an hour, and I've actually been getting pretty good fuel economy. We're at about 16.5 miles per gallon. Fuel on this route is pretty important to pay attention to because there's some long hauls where there's no fuel, so we're gonna aim for Coldfoot, which has the last fuel stop before Prudhoe Bay, and I think from Coldfoot to Prudhoe Bay is just over 245 miles, but we have to go through the Brooks Range. So I don't know what my fuel economy is going to be there. So I did bring a little bit of extra fuel just in case. But I think that the extra fuel is going to come into play a little bit more when we head south towards Denali. We've got some places we're going to be exploring. I think if this pace keeps up, fuel here is going to be no problem. But Arctic Circle, Coldfoot, those are our next destinations. All right, we just crested this hill and the trees have thinned out and you can see for miles up here, the rolling, rugged landscape, the snow out there. Now it's starting to feel like we're in the Arctic and we're not too far from the official start of the Arctic Circle. So we'll pause when we get there in a minute, but yeah, this is what I was looking forward to. All day long, I've just been in awe about the Alaskan pipeline. What an engineering marvel. This thing is 800 miles long. It's just crazy that they built this up here in this remote area with these harsh weather conditions. Incredible. And what I love is they've really kind of taken a little bit of consideration for the wildlife out here. So there's areas where there's animal corridors where it's buried underground, or they've created these really big bridges to make it easy for animals to go under. But most of the time it looks just like this, and it's elevated off the ground because there's heat in there and they want to keep it from melting the permafrost underneath. But yeah, I love stuff like this. This is super cool. Well, after a very long drive yesterday and a moderate drive today, Sean and I have reached the Arctic Circle for the second time within a year. It was this time last year, give or take a week, where we reached the Arctic Circle in Canada. And now we've reached the Arctic Circle in Alaska. It's a pretty cool accomplishment. I've always been excited to hear stories about people coming up here and doing this, and now that I've done it twice with my good friend Sean, it's pretty awesome, dude.
Arctic Circle.
There's mosquitoes.
They're so big.
We're on a paved section of the Dalton, and seems like there's paved section and then there's mud and then there's paved section and then there's gravel. It's just this mix. And honestly, I think Sean and I both agree that the paved sections are worse than the dirt sections because there's all these potholes and you really gotta dodge them a little bit. I would hate to be in a car with small tires because some of these potholes, they'll get up and bite you pretty good. Yeah, we're cruising right along, doing 53 miles an hour, and we are probably 20 miles away from Coldfoot, and I've got about 85 miles of range. So the fuel stop will be just right. All right, we made it to Coldfoot, Alaska. Nice little milestone here. Getting fuel, $7.49 a gallon, but I knew that coming in. I knew that was not gonna be cheap, but I only had about 60 miles of range left, but I haven't tapped into my cans, but we still have 242 miles to go. So getting fuel here is an absolute must. Now, there is a little cafe in town, there's a post office, and there's a visitor center, and not much else. So I don't think we're gonna stick around town too long. We really want to work our way north and continue enjoying this Arctic beauty. We just came across the road from Coldfoot, and the lady at the gas station, she sold me a peanut butter cookie, which was pretty good, but she said, "Are you guys going to the visitor center?" I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go check it out." She's like, "They got the best bathrooms over there." She was over the top about how nice the bathrooms are. However, this is a really cool facility. They've got lots of great information in there. Talking to the BLM officers, super nice. And yes, the bathrooms are pretty good, but a lot of good information here. And crazy that they built this beautiful facility way up here in the middle of nowhere. All right, now that we've fueled up, had a good time, we gotta keep heading north. All right, now we're talking. This is what I thought camping in Alaska was gonna be like, and this is beautiful. That mountain, the river, yes. Now, we had to do a little hunting and searching because we saw that there was some stuff over here, and there was a campsite on the other side of the river, but it was just not nice, and it didn't really have a view. This is wide open, right on the river, gorgeous mountain right there. Now, we brought our fishing poles this trip, but this looks pretty silty, so I don't think we're gonna fish here today, but we've got other toys to play with while we're here at camp, and I've got dinner duty. All right, camp's all set up, and now it's time to have a little fun. Now, I've never shot a crossbow in my entire life, but I'm pretty handy with a rifle. But I watched some videos, I read all the instructions, so that pretty much makes me dangerous. We've set up a target over there on the bank. It's really kind of a makeshift, it's all we've got, and we're gonna see how this goes. I'm excited to give this a try. This was pre-assembled at the store. I know that scope is not sighted in, but gonna see how this goes. All right, she's on safe. Taking her off. Sean, you ready?
Nope.
She's on fire.
We're getting set up.
Here we go. Hey, that's in the red.
Nice.
I'll take it. Well, that's not bad for my first 3 arrows I shot through a crossbow. I'm a little low and to the right, so there needs to be some adjusting. About 20, 25 yards out. That's kind of fun. All right, well, the crossbow was a success, and learning how to use them, Sean and I figured that out pretty easily. Our target and backdrop was a total failure. All 3 of these tips and 2 of Sean's are broken. But at least we know the crossbows work, and we do have more arrows, but we're gonna have to find a different target. Well, we've had a lot of fun with crossbows. It's debatable who won, but I volunteered to make dinner anyway, because there's something that Sean reminded me that we had in Arizona that it was pretty amazing.
It was pretty good. It was after that long day of driving.
On a sketchy road at night, we had
bison nachos.
Bison nachos. And so we're gonna try to do that again, but this time with elk. Now, last time I cooked them, I used my wife's Omnia, which is like a stovetop oven. I don't have that this time, so hopefully this in the pan pot thing works out. But
Honestly, meat, cheese, and nachos.
Right.
It's hard to mess up.
yeah.
Now, I mentioned the last time I made these, it was with a stovetop oven. Let's just say that doing it in a regular pot didn't yield the same results. The chips were a little soggy, unfortunately. Sorry, Sean.
Well, definitely not the best nachos I've ever had. But the closer we got to the bottom, the crunchier they got. And it's almost gone. It'll be gone in about a minute.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
We didn't let a few soggy nachos spoil our evening. This was an incredible campsite, and we're both filled with excitement about what tomorrow will bring. Prudhoe Bay is now within our reach.
What a beautiful morning in the Arctic. It's a little chilly, but not bad. I imagine it's going to get a lot colder as we continue north. I think it's still below freezing up in Prudhoe Bay. I was reading up last night that there are only 5 places in the world where you can drive up to the Arctic Circle. We've done 2 of them. The other 3 are Sweden, Finland, and Russia. And there's also a small island on the top of Iceland where you could drive Iceland and then you could take a ferry up to the island. I think it's called Grimsey or Grimmy, something like that. I mean, I'd never really thought that that would be like a cool accomplishment, but I don't know. Now I'm just thinking more and more about it. Like, how cool would it be to go to all the possible land masses that you can get to reach the Arctic Circle? It'd be kind of cool. I don't know. It's just, drinking my coffee this morning and just thinking and enjoying things. And I was like, oh, that would be a kind of cool thing to do over my lifetime. I'm still young. Got lots of life left to me, lots of adventure left to me. So who knows? Who knows where that'll go? All right, this morning we're going to pack up here in a bit and start heading north. Oh yeah. Good morning, my friend. We didn't get flooded out by the river last night.
This is a win.
It's a win. But there are some pretty large bear tracks not too far from camp. So something to be mindful of.
Yeah, I mean, you probably just want to be pet.
Yeah, I'm sure. You ready to drive the farthest north that you ever driven in your life?
I sure am.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
It got cold, guys. We've been climbing an elevation and it got chilly. Now, when I was planning this route on Onyx Off-Road, I was mapping all kinds of points of interest. And one of them is the last spruce tree on the Dalton Highway. And that's it right there behind us. Going forward, there's no more pine trees, no more spruce trees. Now, the official most northern spruce tree in Alaska is somewhere over there. You can hike to many, many miles, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna head up this beautiful mountain pass right now. Yeah.
This is the Brooks Range, one of the most remote and rugged mountain ranges in North America, stretching over 700 miles across northern Alaska. Crossing it means you're leaving behind what most would call still the wild and entering something even more untamed. I have been really looking forward to this section of the Dalton Highway. And off in the distance, we spotted the first few caribou, early signs of a massive migration that was waiting just beyond the pass.
All right, we're making our way to the top of the Adigan Pass. This is the top of the Brooks Range where the Continental Divide is, and it is very steep. The Jeep is working really hard right now. The temperature has dropped a lot. We're just about freezing right now. Beautiful, beautiful scenery, and we saw that herd of caribou right before we started. Yeah, they just got really exciting. I'm loving this. All right, we crested the summit and it is so windy and so cold out. Now we're down on the backside and it is steep. I'm got it in second gear and trying not to ride my brakes. I can't imagine doing this in the winter when the trucks are coming through here and this is all snowed and iced over. It would be a little sketchy. Dalton is listed as one of the most dangerous roads in America, and in the beginning wasn't too dangerous, but there's been some areas now where it's been pretty slippery from where they're keeping water on the road to keep the dust down, and it can get a little crazy. We've seen a couple cars on the side of the road that have been all crashed and totaled that just left there, but now we have come over, we're past the mountains and we're out and you can just see tundra for miles. Well, at the moment, you can't see anything. Visibility is terrible. And so now we've got to slow way down and now we have to really pay attention to stay on the right side of the road because there's not a lot of room here. And if we get a truck coming in the other direction, boy, that could be disastrous. So we're taking it slow, which is gonna slow down our arrival time, but that's okay. Better to be safe. About 2 hours ago, I was excited because we saw like 20 caribou, and now we've seen hundreds. In fact, I'm looking out my window right now, and I'll bet there's 40 or 50 out there. There's just herds of them everywhere. They're herding in lines. I mean, they are just everywhere you look. And the amount of geese, it's so many. Now, again, another herd of caribou. My gosh, guys, this is incredible. I haven't seen a muskox, and that's the one animal that I'm really excited to see. We haven't seen any of those, but I'll tell you what, today's been a good day. The Brooks Range, all this wildlife, yeah, it's a good day.
At the time, we had no idea just how special this moment was. We were witnessing part of the porcupine caribou herd, thousands of animals on their annual migration north. It only happens a couple weeks each year, and somehow we were right in the middle of it. They travel over 1,500 miles from Canada's Yukon to the calving grounds of the Alaskan North Slope, one of the longest land migrations on Earth, and we just happen to be in their path.
Now, I knew that the last little section of the Dalton was paved, and I think it was around 15 miles of it was what I read. Well, we hit pavement at about 58 miles out, and we've been on pavement ever since. So I wonder if they're just slowly making this road bigger and bigger. Now, I've got my sunglasses on because the sky is white and the land all around the road is white, and it's starting to kind of irritate my eyes a little bit, and it's a little mundane. I mean, for almost an hour it's been like this, and you really got to focus on the road now. Everything's just white. There's nothing really to see. It's a huge contrast to all the scenery and wildlife we saw way back there. This last little stretch is probably not my favorite part, but the good news is we're only about 10 miles from Dead Horse.
After days of pushing north, we finally made it to the end of the road. Now, technically, this is Dead Horse, not Prudhoe Bay, although the names are often used interchangeably. Prudhoe Bay is the massive oil field just beyond here, and access to the Arctic Ocean is restricted unless you're part of a tour or working up here. Dead Horse itself is no-frills industrial camp, built to support the oil operation. It's not scenic and it's not meant to be, but getting here, it means you've traveled one of the most remote highways in North America, and we've made it to the top of the world.
Well, after several days and a whole lot of driving, we made it to the town of Dead Horse. And well, it's not really a town in your traditional sense. It's more of an industrial camp, and we're not really gonna hang out here. So it's not really so much about the destination, although now we have, Sean, driven to the most northern point in North America.
Yes, we have.
We're going to see if we can get something to eat. We're gonna get some fuel and check out the town for a little bit. And then we gotta do it all over again. We gotta head all the way back.
Boo.
It's been an incredible adventure getting here, guys, but the adventure is not over. It's really just in the infancy, because Sean and I are still gonna head south and go deep into the interior of Alaska. We've got some really epic trails we're gonna go explore. We've got some historical places we're gonna visit, and we've got some cool experiences we're gonna have that are planned out. So, more to come on our Alaska bucket trip.